There we go. Jeremy, thank you so much for your help today. You made what could have been an issue, just like up. No issue. Julie, hi. Okay, so I think we should begin as it's after 7. And the first thing on the agenda was welcoming people. So I think we've been doing that. It's really nice to see everybody. I really hope that soon we can be seeing each other in person. Well, we will be on October 18th because we'll be doing the fall fundraiser. And we strongly, I'm going out of order as I always do, strongly encourage everybody to come. There's, there's a sponsor price, there's a member price, there's a, you don't have to pay anything price. You can, if you're not yet a member and you want to join up, you can get the price of admission to the fundraiser as part of joining the club. I will bring t-shirts. Anyone who's joined recently who hasn't gotten their t-shirt or that it's been 2 years, just come see me. I'll have a lot of t-shirts.
A question, Marion.
Yeah.
What do the funds for fundraising do beyond our dues?
That's a good question, and I'm going to answer some of it, and I'm going to give it over to Kenny. But we do lots of things that help in our endorsed candidates. So getting flyers printed, passing them out, doing text banks, things like that. We intended last year to do some local proposals to give out money for some local issues, like Sarah's on the line and she's very involved in sustainability. So we had something for, an invitation for sustainability proposals. This year we will be able to do that because we'll have a little extra cash. And other things that come up that, like when you come to a fall fundraiser, you'll get food, and just think, well, if we can ever start meeting in person again, we'll have money to pay for the room and for food and, stuff like that. We carry a very, very modest balance in our account compared to all other clubs, but it's nice to have a balance. Kenny, you have anything to add?
No, I was going to say, I mean, the fundraiser is going to cover our costs for the past year. And if we don't raise the funds, then our account's just going to keep going down and down. We want to keep it at the same level that we've had for the past couple of years. So.
Yeah, we last year we didn't raise. I mean, we had dues, but we didn't raise any funds. And we also have to pay for Zoom and for our internet account. Go ahead, Penn.
Also, I was going to add that all our dues were the 2-year dues, and we collected it last October. So this year we're not going to be getting an increase, a flux of $60 dues coming in. So we even need the money even more so for this year. So pass it all back to you, Mary.
Well, anyone else have anything to add about how we spend money? I don't know, maybe, we had the last couple of years we had primary kickoff events, so we spent some money on those.
We need a new printer. We have to get a new printer. The printer died. There's just
again, or that's the other printer that died.
Yeah, we still have to replace the printer we used for this past election cycle. We bought a lot of paper, a lot of toner for that as well. All these costs just add up. So.
Right. Sarah, is that a satisfying answer?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's what the money's for. Just so if we have a little money in the bank, we know we can do these things and not have to stress about it.
Yeah.
We also have an option for people to become members without paying dues. Especially these last few years during the pandemic, we want to be welcoming to everybody. So that also helps cover that. Okay, so after having welcomed, let's get some committee reports. So I was wondering if Sarah and Mary Jo wanted to start with sustainability and the survey you're planning to do.
Sure, and I have Mary Jo's blessing to speak for the both of us.
Okay,
So,
all right, good.
But Mary Jo, if you want to jump in, please do so if I misrepresent it. So a little less than a year ago, shortly after we had our group leadership change, Mary Jo and I started a group within Grand Street Dems to think about climate and sustainability issues and how to get our membership engaged to the degree they want. And in that time, we've done a bunch of stuff. We organized meetings with elected officials on climate policy. We promoted community compost at a couple neighborhood events. We researched candidates' climate records and their policies. That's just a few things. And we want to know what our membership, and we do have a mailing list that includes some people who are not Grand Street Dems members, but what our neighbors are interested in doing, because as we know, the climate crisis touches so many things. It's this kind of octopus that touches a lot of stuff, including transportation policy, which I know we're going to talk about in a sec. But that problem, or the series of problem, also means there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different ways that we as a community can get involved. Laura is very, very up to speed on food waste and limiting food waste, for example. So we've designed a quick and easy survey for people on our mailing list and anybody who's in this conversation to learn what people want to do, and we can build activities or outreach or advocacy around that. So I see Harriet's raising her hand, and I'll go to Harriet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Really nice to see you. This may not be anything major, it might, but when Rite Aid was across the street, they had this container that you could drop off plastic bags. And even though everyone is trying really hard not to use plastic bags, there's still plenty around. Is there some way we can do something where the buildings have a receptacle and start collecting plastic bags so they don't just end up where they're not supposed to be?
Can
I don't know.
something? I'm sorry. Trader Joe's accepts them. They, in fact, we brought a humongous big thing of plastic bags. It's in the very back of when you enter. They limit you to one a day, but it can be as huge as your whole body, basically, as long as you tape it up.
Thank you, Susan. So I think that's what this conversation is good for. I think, Harriet, that might be your answer, because I don't think it's something that's rolled out into buildings or that the city sanitation can manage at this point. I'm sorry.
Susan, I
if
just want to ask, is it
Yes.
one bag or one bag of bags a day?
It's one bag of bags. And,
Okay.
and like I said, when we were there last week, we literally, the bag of bags, I swear, was a few feet tall. I'm not kidding. And it's very
Right.
clean, unlike, Rite Aid and other places where people were throwing junk in the trash. It is really clean, and they're wonderful about it. And they take it out very frequently.
Cool.
Well, I was
Laura?
just wondering,
Sorry, Harriet. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if it's something we could do on a voluntary basis to, reach out and collect bags in our buildings, on our floors, whatever, and then physically bring them over to Trader Joe's, if that's something that you might want to consider.
Thank you. Thanks. I like it. And Harriet, I might be in touch with you separately. Okay. I think Laura has her hand up.
Yes, I just had this idea and I haven't actually done anything about it. So it's just an idea or throwing like that. But since a number of them live in fairly large co-ops, like if we could have an influence on how our co-ops use energy, whether for heating, hot water, by either asking questions of our management company, the little light lobbying, saying, hey, maybe we could do better. That's just an idea.
And that's something I'm thinking of because there's a local advocacy organization that's doing that with some neighborhood buildings. So I was thinking about making that connection within our neighborhood.
Okay.
Helena?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed it, but did you say what they do with the bags at Trader Joe's? I was not aware that.
Oh, I didn't say
plastic
anything, but
bags could-
they do. I spoke to the manager at one point and they're very serious about it. They, like I said, there's no junk, unlike what used to happen at Rite Aid and Fine Fair and so forth. No, it's strictly the plastic bags and they take it very seriously.
But what do they do with them? Do
Oh,
you know how
they-
they're
they-
recycled?
Yeah.
Because I thought
Oh, yes.
plastic bags could not be recycled.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding. Yeah, they take it to, I forget, he didn't tell me the exact place, but they do dispose of it where plastic bags are brought or what, I don't know, but they were very serious about it.
And they'll take cleaner bags as well,
What do you mean?
from the dry cleaner.
Oh, as long as it's plastic,
Okay.
100% plastic.
So there's clearly a need to know more about plastic bag recycling in the neighborhood. So I'll look into it. I'll connect with some of
Okay.
you and we'll learn some more. Well, I'll ask for Lauren's talk, and then I know we've got a tight agenda tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lauren, did you have a question?
Yes, I'll be quick. I was just wondering if you know what the state of composting is. I really want the city to start it back up. I sort of fell off. I used to call occasionally, leave a message, do all the things that you suggested doing before. Sarah, thank you for all your work, because I really appreciate that. That and more biking, less cars are my two issues. But
More biking and
compost.
fewer cars are coming up in the next item on our agenda, so stay tuned. Compost is still stuck with, I think, the Department of Sanitation's terrible budget, but the more we continue to nudge our elected officials, and in this case, it's Chris Marte and Carlina Rivera at the council level, I think they're the ones who have the most muscle. Long story short, I'm not going to go any more into compost because I know we need to move on. We're sending a survey and to get people's names if they want to do more in depth. If you're interested, send me your email address through the chat in this Zoom. I'm going to be here till the close of the meeting and we'll add you to it, and something is going to be coming out soon. Thank you, Melissa Schiffman, and I am going to turn the meeting over to Marion. Thank you.
I also want to add that Council Member Marte is coming towards the end of the meeting to talk about the No More 24 legislation that he submitted to the City Council, and to give us a little quickie on what's happening with City Council redistricting, at least today. But so people might want to ask him that question. If he knows about what's happening with composting. I don't believe the mayor really, anyway, never mind. I don't think he supports it. So I think we need to put pressure, and we need to use our local electeds to put the pressure. Anything else for Sarah? And Sarah, you're going to send the surveys out by email?
By email. So if you want to get a survey and kind of get in this smaller loop, part of GSD, let me know, put your email address in the chat to me directly, and I'll be collecting addresses through the meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, we're going to send it to the broader, like the membership, but if you're not yet receiving emails from us and are interested, or you're
Good. So if you get regular emails, you don't have to reach out. You'll get it and then respond.
Thank you.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next we're going to have our traffic update. Bill Ferns and Harriet. Harriet, are you still in the room? Oh, yes, there you are. So, Bill, you wanna-
Can I share my screen? It'll just might be a little quicker with the
yeah,
report.
hold on. I'll make you co-host too. Can I make two co-hosts? Let's see.
there. I just made it so he can do it.
Okay, great. Give me a second.
Already
here.
done?
You don't have to co-host. you just
Okay.
need-
You guys
Okay.
see that?
Yep.
Almost. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So with the never-ending primary season, sort of got distracted from doing much specific work, except for calling 311 every time I saw a truck blocking the crosswalk outside between buildings 2 and 3 in Seward Park. But there are some updates. I don't know how many people noticed it, but seems to be more traffic safety agents earlier in the day at the corner of Clinton and Grand. Last couple of days, I've been out sort of early for various reasons, and I've seen 2 traffic agents in there in the morning. I'm not sure what that is related to. I do know there's a new acting police precinct commander in the 7th precinct. And I also noticed yesterday there was a lot more police activity up and down Clinton Street on both sides of Delancey dealing with traffic. So maybe he has a different attitude than Captain Barcia, but we'll see. Or maybe she. I don't know if it's who the new commander is. But there are more traffic safety agents. Connor Allerton, who's Chris Marte's land use guy, he's also been trying to get the Department of Transportation to put quick curbs. Yeah, maybe I can give you a quick picture so you can see what they look like. You actually, do I have them up? Thought I have them up here. Oh, okay, never mind. But you've seen them. They're those sort of bigger things that. Oh wait, here it comes. Is it coming? There. You've seen them. These are the quick curbs. So the idea is down at Grand Street, right around Clinton and Jackson, where Clinton and Jackson sort of come in this funny V. When traffic gets backed up, lots of times cars going westbound on Grand Street go into the oncoming lane to turn off into Madison Street, which is pretty terrifying for the pedestrians who aren't expecting them to come that way. So we've been trying to get DOT to put these up. The problem, as some of you noticed, Tommy Loeb sent me an article, a Streets blog last week. There's apparently a large number of vacant positions in the DOT. A lot of the sort of upper management is missing. Apparently, the new commissioner, though he's well-meaning, doesn't actually know the details of traffic and transportation management. So they're a bit adrift and low morale. So I'm not sure. Maybe we can get some information from the council member when he gets to talk later. Those of you, maybe some of you have noticed because you've gotten something in the mail, but speed cameras have gone 24/7 in New York. They used to be only, I forget what it was, 16 hours a day and only doing weekdays and only by schools. Though they still allow people, you only get a ticket if you go 10 miles an hour over the limit. So instead of 25, you don't get a ticket till you get 36, and people are still complaining about it. I don't know where they're driving, but and apparently that's happening. We probably won't see much realistic changes in the amount of traffic using Grand Street as a viaduct and Clinton Street as a viaduct to the Williamsburg Bridge, so there's congestion pricing. And I don't have the statistics here, but apparently the NYPD is really failing to deal with traffic abuses. They're just not doing it. The number of traffic tickets have dropped radically in the last couple of years. There is a bill before the city council to allow individuals to report cars blocking bike lanes, pedestrian crossings, and sidewalks, as well as also a separate bill on placard abuse. If you're not familiar with placard abuse, is when people, make up some sign that says they're with the NYPD or the FDNY or something, and they park illegally. There's actually also apparently a rampant growing scourge of people painting over their license plates to avoid parking tickets and speeding tickets and tolls. And apparently the biggest number of those offenders can be found by police precincts and firehouses. So the problem is the people who are supposed to enforce the laws aren't, and they might be breaking them. So these bills would allow individuals to make the report if they document them. Apparently there's something similar with bus idling and truck idling, and there are people who make a living making these reports because the person who makes the report actually gets part of the fines. And I believe the deal would be that either the DOT or the Department of Finance would be enforcing the offenses and not the NYPD. So that might change things. We're still, now that we're back from the summer and want to get more volunteers for our action volunteer list, there's a little, if you have your phone there, you can shoot it and it'll send you right to the list. One thing I just want to say that I've noticed that there were a bunch of people in Chicago, about 100 of them, blocked a major intersection for just 3 minutes. So they left before the police showed up. But apparently it was a big deal. So maybe that's the action we need to do. We get a bunch of people to stand in one of the intersections just for a few minutes, just to wreak some havoc and get their attention. So that's report unless there's any questions.
Actually, William had a question in the chat. William, you want to ask that?
Oh, let me go look at it.
I was just curious about the cameras because I'm at Amalgamated, so I'm at Columbia and East Broadway. And I walk my dog 5 times a day, and me and everyone else right there were often run over or cursing at a lot of drivers who are running the light. And it's gotten really bad. I was just curious if you had any info about the cameras in terms of that or anything else that the action group has come up
The
with.
red light cameras apparently are set different than the speed cameras. So I have to check, but the latest thing I knew was that the city was allowed to have 150 red light cameras active at one time. They have about 280, but they have them timed to change. I don't know, is there a camera at that intersection that you know of? No. Okay. Now we can get them to put up. I mean, we could ask them, you know, but it's DOT's problem if they would put up a camera there and put it in the rotation. Now wait, this is William. I'm sorry. This is at East Broadway and Grand. No,
East Broadway and Grand, which is the light is very far from the intersection. Anyone who drives will know. And the other one is at Columbia and Grand.
Right.
And both of them are run through. And my obituary will be having been run over at the corner of Columbia and Grand at this point. But I don't know.
But
I've told
people
everyone
can't-
to call and write and stuff, but I was just curious if your input would be.
Now, do you mean people coming off of East Broadway onto Grand?
People crossing, old people, dogs. There's a lot of
No, I
traffic
mean the
crossing.
cars though running the lights.
Going west.
Okay, so it's still they're on Grand and they're running the lights both at Grand, at East Broadway, and at Columbia. Okay.
That's right. And then now they're actually they're blocking the box every day now at every turn.
I mean, one of the things that annoys me is that there's blocking the boxes all up and down Delancey, and they don't enforce it at all. You know, again, this goes to the police not wanting to, you know,
enforcement. Understood.
Right. But I'll check out the process of getting a red light camera. Apparently, the DOT, what I've heard is sometimes says, "Oh, you don't need it." But so we might need someone to fake an injury on the corner or something. But I'll check on that. No, it would be good to know the process of what it would take. You know.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Marion. I don't know who's next. So
You had Lee and then Melissa.
Okay.
Hi, Bill. Just to
Hey,
give
Lee.
a little bit of an update and a little bit of history. I know that an East River resident asked Margaret Shin's office, I guess 2 years ago at least, for the quick curb, and Margaret Shin's office was working on this under the old administration. So the DOT's excuse, if that is part of the excuse of not installing that quick curb over at Madison and Grand, that, you know, they're missing personnel, their top leaders, etc. That just doesn't hold up. It just doesn't hold up. In addition, DOT was asked for the quick curb over here, I think 3 or 3.5 years ago, when they started on their own initiative of the safe school zone implementation with little to no community input. The 7th precinct, the acting commanding officer is Captain Kenzada, who was the EXO, the executive officer, who has been very responsive to traffic conditions. He, pursuant to requests from this community, has put in a request for a red light camera over at Grand and FDR. That, of course, may take, well, years, but he did follow up. He's followed up with other enforcement And he's also acknowledged that the precinct needs more cops. And if he's made the permanent commanding officer, he's vowed to seek at least 25 more cops, hopefully some of which will go to traffic conditions. He actually highlighted traffic conditions as being one of the top things. So if there are, I would suggest reach out to Captain Canzada at the precinct. The more folks that do that, the better, and give him the explicit asks of what it is we want, we need, and just continue following up. So.
Well, thanks, Lee. Yeah, I was away when the last community council meeting happened, so I couldn't attend, but I'll make sure I have the next one. I'll reach. I have his email because someone gave me his email address, so I can try to reach him and find out. But that's good. I did, like I said, I noticed yesterday walking around, there was a lot of police doing traffic enforcement, which was, but mostly on Clinton Street, but not on Delancey, where like a lot of the block to boxes happen. But anyway,
right.
Melissa.
And as an aside, before Melissa, I'm all around the city at all hours, from 6 o'clock in the morning through late at night, and the running of red lights, the driving through bike lanes, it's all over. And yes, it goes a very large part to what you're saying. There's been a slowdown in enforcement for quite some time.
Yeah.
There's also been a rise up in infractions. I mean, I don't know why the pandemic made people have to have louder cars and drive faster and run red lights, but there seems to be a correlation.
Well, that certainly seems to go along with people realizing that there are no consequences to their actions.
Yeah, both.
That's, I think that's it. And especially when.
Okay, Melissa and then Fanny. I'm going to move us along so we can get to other stuff.
I'm good with that.
Thanks, Melissa.
So, Mark Levine keeps, our borough president, for anyone who doesn't know, keeps posting stuff about, how desperately the West Side needs a bike lane. And, every time it gets my craw because we have nothing here. And I have a lot of bikers in my household. And there's really, the biking is not safe around here, in my opinion. So is there a way that we can talk to him and advocate to him that we actually also need a bike lane? And I know with the river, with the resiliency project right now, there's no water side one, but I mean, other than First Avenue, we've got nothing.
I mean, that I haven't been over there. Is the service road completely closed along the one that runs along the FDR Drive, not the river?
Yes, it's closed.
That's closed too.
Oh, yeah. No, the whole thing is closed.
I mean, it's open from Montgomery South, but
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can, right, because I've done that. And if you want to take a leisurely ride after fighting your way through South Street Seaport, you can sort of cruise over to the west side. But if you need to go uptown on this side,
Exactly.
it's First Avenue, which, right, is not leisurely.
Okay, so let's talk to Fanny. Also, Lee just posted the contact. So it's in the chat for anyone who wants to see it. Thank you, Lee.
Melissa, I guess we could try to lean on the borough president a little bit to say, hey, what about us?
Yeah, I mean, with that and with trees, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Hey, Fanny.
Hey, so just a quick note. I noticed that on East Broadway and Clinton, where they make a left turn from East Broadway, they make a left towards Clinton. I've noticed that there's been a lot of cops sitting there waiting for people to make a left turn and give them a ticket. So yeah, so I've noticed that. I've seen that a lot, quite a few times.
We saw 4 one day this week.
We can actually just sit when we have nothing else to do. We can sit on our terrace and watch it happen because we have a direct line of sight. But sometimes the police stand outside their car so obviously that someone coming up and contemplating the left-hand turn will see the police and they'll go straight. So they still not, I mean, you could argue that's okay to keep people from making left-hand turns, but they tend to wave people off more than they give out tickets. you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, so
But
just.
they are there. It's been a lot more obvious there, and like I said,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Melissa wrote a question about, are you sure they weren't there for Rosh Hashanah? They may have been, but they were giving tickets for left-hand turns.
Yeah, no, it wasn't for Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, they weren't in front of the various shuls or synagogues up and down the street. They were definitely, watching that.
Okay, any other burning questions or comments about traffic? Harriet, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Okay, Al.
My feeling is that the only thing that's going to work is to get a whole bunch of people and block traffic over and over and over again, and keep drawing a lot of attention, and get a lot of the NYCHA residents, because they're very concerned about people trying to get, cross the street around East Broadway and Clinton to get back home from the from Metro Acres, whatever that's called. And it was brought up at one of the community police meetings. So, otherwise it's just going to be a lot of lip service. There's no reason they can't have a much bigger sign at hanging from the light on East Broadway to make a left on Clinton. And to add insult to injury, you have the construction and people working. So it's a nightmare. It's, I'm an aggressive driver, and believe me, I get through. I managed to get through and go straight, but it's a nightmare. They could make a fortune if they put a camera up there. I don't understand why it has to take so many years. But the bottom line is, I'm, asking and talking is not going anywhere. Just, you have to get loud.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Oh, okay, is there anything else about traffic? I know we could talk the rest of the meeting about it because it is so horrendous and getting more so every day. I still want to get on the street and throw tacks out. Just give everybody flat tires and see if that works, but I'm not doing it. Okay, so I already mentioned the fall fundraiser. Everybody's now on. We have all kinds of plans for you to be entertained. And again, Melissa, do you think you could put a link, or Kenny, I don't know who has the link for tickets, in the chat, so that
Yeah,
if
I can do
people were interested in doing that tonight, they could do it. It's at Donnybrook on Clinton Street. It's real close, has inside and outside tables. So if anyone's uncomfortable being inside, there's a wide range of prices, including none. And again, if you want to become a member and pay your $60 for 2 years, that will include admission and your t-shirt. So we've got a number of people coming already. We'd really love to have a good turnout. Okay, and I'm gonna move from the agenda because I really missed the main thing we had talked about doing tonight, which is getting ideas from all of you about what we should be doing going into the next year. We spent this whole year with 1 million primaries and redistricting and changing this and changing that. And hopefully we will have more. So Melissa just put it up. So if anyone's interested in the fundraiser, there's the link. So I would like to invite everybody to give us some ideas about where you think we should be going. What kinds of goals should we be setting? What should we be doing that would encourage people to become more actively involved? We have a great membership. We could just, somebody wrote to me about our effect in endorsing Mondaire Jones. So Mondaire got some of the strongest support in this district than any place else. And she attributed that to the work that the Grand Street Dems did. So I would just like to invite you all to tell us what you want, or tell us what you would like to do, or what we should do, or just take some time for you without us talking at you. Melissa.
So I've talked about this probably in the executive meetings, but there are some community events that go on down here on the Lower East Side that I think that we could get involved in. In particular, like over at the end of the summer, there was Henry Street put on like a sidewalk event with a lot of different booths and stuff to help, give resources to the community. And there was an event that the CEC one took part in at the beginning of the school year over at, I think it was 142, but I might have my school numbers mixed up. And again, it was like, providing resources to kids, backpacks, books, just to show our faces in the community and to help out and to, as we talked about, what are we fundraising for? Well, maybe we can give resources to people in the community that need it. That's what I would like to do.
Any thoughts about that? Two thumbs up from Jeremy. That's
Great
good,
idea.
Sarah. What that really would require is, thanks, Fanny, good thumbs up there. Lots of them, okay. But what it really would require is for the membership to participate, to partner with us. Very often we get involved in these things that it ends up being largely, not only, but largely executive committee. And we're just, or come out for the executive board vote and we'll make it bigger, however works for people. But I would love that people like that idea. I would also love to hear that people are willing and interested to partner with us and to go to these things, or sometimes to do it without us, to really have more active membership. Does that make sense? Tommy, hand up.
I think to remind people, the last really large successful event that Grand Street Dems had was when we had a very large town hall at the Educational Alliance around the Clinton traffic issue. We had over 250 people there. And unfortunately, we never, again, had the bandwidth to engage and follow up with those people to bring them in to our fold. I think going forward, there are 3 or 4 issues which affect this community, which I think everybody in this community is concerned about. We don't have to agree about them, but we need to listen to what people have to say. And those are crime, no question about it. It's on everybody's mind in this community. No doubt about it. Parks, whether you agree or don't agree on East River Park, what I just heard, for example, one of the promised mitigations when they approved the park was a replacement for the bikeway. It never happened. And it won't happen unless the community makes it happen. And the third one is transportation, whether it's Clinton and Grand or coming our way is congestion pricing. And again, I know we may not agree among ourselves, but we need to hear what this community has to say and then listen to that. Otherwise, we're off representing ourselves, which is nice, but it doesn't really engage the community, grow the Grand Street Dems, or give us the bandwidth and the support to make a difference. So,
Thank you.
Well,
So will you help us organize that, Tommy?
well, that's the problem, okay? We get to the point where we have a simple distribution to make among our buildings, and we seem incapable of doing even that. And no, one person or 2 people are not going to produce the results we want. We need people who are going to take a task and then agree, not the whole task, but take a part of the task and then agree to do it. And that's not happened.
I actually agree with that. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about what we aren't doing or what we can do more effectively to make that happen.
Well, one of the things was raised earlier on. We have money. We need to spend that money. You don't get results in this community without spending money on outreach, on communication, on doing a quarterly newsletter, on letting people what you're doing or not doing. We don't, here we are, here today, but we're speaking amongst ourselves. And I think until we do serious outreach and create an event or events like a town hall at the Education Alliance, where we let the community know we want to speak about these 3 items. We want to hear from them. We know their problems. And see, why did 250 people show up just for the issue of traffic on Clinton and Grant? So.
Okay, thanks. Fanny.
Yeah, just going back to Henry Street, I'm a member of their community advisory board. So if you want to meet, I know their community liaison people and all that. So if you want to set up a meeting or anything, let me know. And I always get information about volunteering for upcoming events. I could definitely forward that to you guys. So just want to let you know.
That's great. Thank you. Harriet.
I think the best way, we definitely need to do more outreach, and we need to do in-person events. What he just mentioned as far as the town hall at Educational Alliance, we have 24 people on this Zoom meeting. I don't know. I'm not a Zoom person. Maybe it's my age. I don't know. But I'll give you an example. There's an event that's going to happen on October 22nd. It's just a neighborhood. It's called a stoop sale. And people in the neighborhood can go put some stuff out and get it, take a table and sell their stuff. We can also take a table and have one item, the traffic situation, and just whoever walks by, see if they're interested, see if we can engage with them in person, and then set up some kind of a town hall, an in-person type of meeting, and get people together, because people are tired of just being on the computer. They need to see somebody and to talk to somebody and engage in person. So I really feel strongly about that. Even our meetings, I wish we would start having meetings in person. It's so important.
I agree. And part of what happens where we always had them in person is the Seward Park room, which still isn't available. And then a couple of times we've planned it, there's been another variant, and everybody was like, oh my God, we can't do it. But I hear you and I agree. I am so sick of Zoom. I can't even say. Anyway, William, thank you.
I agree. I think getting together in person is really helpful. And I hope that maybe in time that will start to build back again. I think it's still a transition that's going through, but it's something to keep fighting for. But I think Tommy's right. I think finding the traffic committee, the traffic town hall was really great. I was really happy to be a part of that. I was just curious, if we fundraise sufficiently, could we not hire an event organizer? I hate to sound so conventional, but would it make sense to hire a vendor or outsource that, even if it's minimal to some extent, and someone we could rely on to help us kind of gather those threads a little bit and keep us a little bit more on track? I think all of us are very busy people, and we will understand that dynamic and the balance of that. But I was just curious if we could not pay for a consultant to help us a little bit and so we can get consistent and also increase the amount of people. I think the traffic issue alone, though, will also be a draw if we just want to go with that.
I love that idea, William. Thank you. And I think we can. I think this fundraiser is looking relatively successful, you know, not crazy, but we'll have a little bit of a cushion to do things like that.
Great. I'm going to post it in my my co-op's board.
Great. Lauren,
I'm speaking a lot tonight. I have two ideas I was thinking of while people were talking. One, these are just real quick, you know, take them or leave them. What about a community calendar that's either on the Grand Street Democrats website or somewhere else, where each, you know, a representative from the group, like say, I mean, I do gardening, whatever. Maybe if there's another thing like Fanny's, you know, Triangle Park thing, and you know, I sort of step in because I like to garden, show up wearing my shirt that I'll get at the fundraiser, and you know, sort of engage people on that level, come away with notes, just share them somehow, right? Doesn't even have to be at the meeting, somehow, right? Number one. The other thing is, what if there were a focus, you know, just like a calendar year with a focus each few months with one topic and an action and or meeting kind of associated with it, so that there is like, you know, January's traffic month, and therefore, you know, people could kind of focus in, and that's when the meeting's taking place, and then there's more information gathered, etc. And then you move on to a different topic, because there are all these topics going on all at once. And it just seems like, you know, in 4 quarters of the year, you could really attack for subjects in pretty much depth. So that's it. Those are my ideas.
I love that. Thank you. And I know that Julie, our vice president, seriously agrees with you. She keeps pushing us to give her dates for a calendar. So Julie, maybe you could be in touch with Lauren and get some other ideas.
Sure. I actually loved everything that people are saying. And I think I would like everyone just to remember that this is a board that has not worked together until this year. This has been our first year of knowing each other, working with each other, and unbelievable how this was the work done by a handful of our folks who were on the board before. But it's been a lot of organization in the background just to plan for this fundraiser, just to figure out who does what, get the emails out, could take all day per Melissa, just to draft emails, just to reach out, just to respond. There's a lot of stuff that happens already, but I think we are looking forward to getting better organized and a little bit more structured. I'd like to just maybe just share with the group one idea that I have, because now that we're almost at like 1 million primaries, is to do something once a month that's social. That's not, and I think through social events, people could talk about topics of interest. And since we're called the Grand Street Dems, I was thinking about going up and down Grand Street and picking a restaurant, a meetup place, whether it's the new ice cream shop on Grand Street, whether it's, you know, whether it's Salugi's or whether it's the Grand Street Pizza, but we do something once a month up and down Grand Street and set up the calendar. So that's one calendar that I could sketch out. I would be looking for volunteers to volunteer to be the lead for that event. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'll create the calendar with, you know, 10 events, probably thematic, you know, like I think Lebanon, some Lebanon celebration might be the month of November or something like that. So going to Minutia might be a good thing to do. There might be a National Pizza Month. I have a list. I sketched it out already, but perhaps from this group, we could put out the email and ask for volunteers who would agree, 1 or 2 volunteers to just be the point person that day for that event. Okay. And if people want to talk, meet people, I think it's a social thing. It's not a meeting. There's no agenda except just to meet and get to warm up to get everybody to see each other again. How does that sound? Will I have 1 or 2 volunteers from this group to agree to take on an event? So I don't have to be the face every month, you know, so other people here could be the face for the month.
Yes, Melissa loves it. I will also do it. And I'm going to encourage everybody else to step in. Cocktails for a cause. Bill, I'm going to skip over to you because there's other people who want to talk. Diego, hi.
Hi, Mary. Hi, everybody. Good to be with you again. Um, I wanted to support some of the ideas that already been shared. Just add to them, in terms of the community events. I know we have to consider our own membership, but I wonder if there are times when we could just be, a resource for that organization, and just, to be able to build some goodwill and then reach out to them for reciprocity. Just bodies, we don't necessarily have to have a booth at each of these fairs or events. We could just say, yeah, hey, I could get 5 people and we'll just show up, and I could bag garbage, or, I could do whatever needs to be done. And then just, you just start making relationships, I think. And then in turn, when we need the help, hopefully they'd come out. I'm definitely down for the Grand Street, walking tour, the monthly happy hour or get together. I think that's a wonderful idea in terms of at least our half of Grand Street, that's in the district. I think that would really, again, go a long way to getting goodwill, but also getting out there to what other people said. But also wanted to make a point about our, not just the community work that we do, but also the fact that we're part of the support system for local electeds. And I want us to be, stay democratic, but somehow be more mindful or more strategic at endorsement time, so that our, voice not only represents, our group, but, matters. And I think the endorsement season is tough because there's a lot of people all the time, and you got to find the time to meet them all and do things like that. And I'm not saying we should toe the line, but I am saying we shouldn't be only pie in the sky. And as I reflect on, the last election, hey, we got caught up on, Mondaire versus Goldman, when, I wish our conversation was more about Carlina versus Yulene, so I don't exactly know how to do that differently, but I wanted to put that out there, that I think that's like when we're the most public, not just to the community, but to the elected. So anyway, thanks for the time. I'll yield back.
Diego, I just want to say that I really struggled this season with the same exact thing. And, then there was these reasons not to do Carlina, these reasons not to do Yulene. But we could have had a more public conversation about all that. So I really agree with you. And I felt like I really liked Mondaire. I liked the work he did in Congress. But then I felt like, well, he doesn't know this neighborhood. He doesn't really, it was a difficult decision. But I hear you. And I hope that you would be a little more proactive in speaking up at those times and say that thing, because I think we need to hear it.
Thank you, Mary.
Frank. Hi, Frank.
Hola, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, very busy. Thank you for everyone being at this meeting. I just want to piggyback on what everyone is saying, all great ideas. We are brand new, we're new kids on the block, over a year or so, and a great way of getting involved and getting recognition and more people involved. All that is, I just wanted to share this idea among all the other great ideas is during the holidays are coming, or the holidays are already here, right? As someone said, we should be also like a resource. I also heard someone say we have money. So what I'm getting at is Thanksgiving's coming up, Hanukkah's coming up, Christmas. I don't know, like on our side, because I'm from, from the northern part of the Lower East Side. We're getting ready for our turkey drive with the Lower East Side of Central. And I know that all, Coda and everybody gets together as a resource to hand out these turkeys. So, an idea will be getting ready for the holidays and how we can provide, I don't know, food and resources to our community. I also heard another resource could be like education and book bags and all this great stuff. So I think that the more community events we do, the more we get involved, we could grow our membership and, like I said, get the recognition. Also, is whatchamacallit. I just lost my train of thought, but I just wanted to say the holidays, and it's great. Oh yeah, about Grand Street and the small businesses. We formed during the pandemic a small business alliance called Lower East Side Small Business Alliance, which is primarily people of color, locals who have businesses in the area, but it has expanded to most of the business downtown. So that's a great idea on starting on Grand Street because there's so many businesses, right? There's other organizations too. I'm sorry to be back and forth about the turkey drive and the food. We have UA3 there. I don't know, Don, food. So there's just so much on Grand Street, and to do, like other people said, big events that would draw a lot of people, like that panel and educational life. That was amazing, right? Like just throwing a crazy idea out there. Imagine if we could get lights on Grand Street that say welcome to the Lower East Side. I mean, Chinatown has it, welcome to Chinatown, Little Italy has it. So I'm just saying, just if we could come up with obviously a group of volunteers, a person who would be in charge, like you guys said, that we could all work together and make an impact in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I love the idea of the lights. I really like that. And I would like to clarify one thing you said about like working with the small businesses. Are you talking about, I mean, I know being in relationship with them, but to help get things together to give out to people, to help the businesses by giving to them, or both?
That's correct. Everything, right? If we have a meeting person or one of the local businesses, we're supporting them. And if they also need resources, we could be that point of contact too, right? So both ways. Yes. Thank you.
I like it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can I just jump in there for 1 sec? Like in our building, like for the past couple of years during the pandemic, our buildings like East River raised some money and bought food at El Castillo to hand out to people. Which I think if during the holidays, which is such a nice idea, like we could maybe like see if they're doing it this year and like work with them to, it benefits people who are hungry, but it also benefits El Castillo.
And did they give them, bring to people's houses or just kind of hang out on the street and give it? How did that work? Do you remember?
I have to be honest, I'm not usually here during that week, so I've got to ask them. I don't know if Jeremy, he would know, or Diego.
I love that. And you're right. That's a way of both supporting the business and helping people out. I like it. Laura.
It's just a question with the community room at Stewart Park. Is it because it was closed during COVID and it has not reopened?
We've asked, Carolyn and I both asked the last 2 years over time, can we use it for a meeting? Can we use it for this? Can we use it for that? And it keeps being no. I will ask again actually tomorrow because now I'm reminded.
Yeah, so like it would be a matter of, asking management or the board that maybe it can be reopened now. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, I think last time they were ready to reopen it and then Omicron came.
Yes.
So
Sure.
now, so everybody get your BA variant vaccination. And then we can say, oh, we're all vaccinated. We're all good. But yes, I agree. And that's not the only space in the world. So if other people have ideas of where else we could get rent space, borrow space, whatever, please come forward. It's the only space I really know about. Except we were gonna do, Kenny, what were we gonna do? It was like a CBD shop. And I decided that might be a little edgy for the Grand Street Dems. No, Jeremy, you like it? Okay. Am I right, Kenny? Was that it?
It's on Madison Street between Jefferson and Clinton.
And then we could stock up on our CBD.
She has a backspace. She has a backspace. You can set up tables, and she has like
Mhm.
comic shows and stuff back there. So she said we're welcome to use it for free. So anytime.
So maybe that's what we do next time.
Yeah.
What about St. Mary's Church? That's a great idea.
When we looked into it for public school benefits, they charge a lot of money.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone, I mean, Manny Cantor in the past has been really generous with their space. We can, that might be the best way. If anyone has an inn at St. Mary's, like, or Lee St. Augustine's.
They got St. Augustine's is always willing. I'm sure you guys know about St. Augustine's, but I could look into St. Mary's through the Archdiocese, but I don't know who's the pastor there.
Thank you. Okay, so we have to just, I really am I hearing correctly? Do most people on this call believe we should be back in person at least some of the time?
Yes.
All right, so that's something we really have to work on. So we have to do that while or even before we plan a big town hall. I think if we're in person, people are more likely to kind of say, okay, I can do that, or here's the paper, sign up. I don't know. I think this Zoom is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just dulling our interactive senses. You think I'm right? All right. Anyway, hi, Carolyn. Glad you could come.
Should we let Bill speak yet?
Oh, yeah, your hand's still up. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Bill, would you like to speak?
I had told Marion to skip me because I talk too much. But I have to say, I thought that if we were gonna, I think Julie, you left out El Castillo de Agua for a place that we could have a.
Hey, Bill, give me a chance. I have it on the list. I just didn't disclose everybody's list. Subject to everyone's opinion. El Castillo is absolutely on the list.
Just
Okay.
have a little east. No,
They make a great Cubano sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
So sorry
Okay.
about that. So Waldo, the son and the father of that business, good friends, they just opened up a second place on 46 Mulberry Street. I don't know if that's our district down there, but it's called El Cito, and it's really big, and they're friends of ours. So sorry if I keep talking, but El Cito on 46 Mulberry Street is Waldo's a part of that as a partner, and both places are amazing. Thank you.
Actually, there's also one in Brooklyn on Flatbush Avenue, because I was just at it today. Okay, I was just going to bring up, I mean, from what people were saying earlier, I mean, people saying we should be meeting in public, but okay, we've had this pandemic, but there's a lot of other opportunities. I know one of the managers of the UA3 food distribution that many of us see on Grand Street. I mean, we could be out in public doing some kind of things, our Grand Street Dem shirts and helping out. I know last year, I think Grace Lee came up with some money to help Vision Urbana distribute turkeys, and a bunch of us in DID went and, we're doing it. And we met some of the tenant leaders in NYCHA, and those kinds of things would be sort of a good way for us to oh, hi, Grace. I didn't even realize you were there. So it would be the kind of thing where we could start making inroads into some of the members of our community who we've not been really good at reaching out to. So any of these things, anything we can do. Tommy, I just want to say we have no trouble getting the things distributed over in Seward Park. I mean, we get people in every building distributed. So maybe you guys have to step up your game in East River, okay? You know, so but you have to do the ask. We do the ask, and people step up. You know, like just go through the membership list. A bunch of the people who step up are here tonight. You know, so we have to do the ask, but we also need to, you know, expect people to do it. I remember when I ran a food co-op many moons ago. One of the things we had in membership to co-op is people had to commit a certain number of hours a month to doing group work. I'm not going to say a certain number of hours a month, but we could expect people to do something. You know, just do something in the year. You're going to be a member. You just, you know, sending the money is helpful, but you know, do something. So we can think of that. And I'll help out with any public meetings that we do. You know, you know, whatever, moving chairs if I have to, whatever, you know, we can do that. There was, you know, going about meeting places, the public schools sometimes rent out spaces. If we're doing a meeting that's not involving alcohol, because I know that the public school in the corner of East Broadway and Grand, they rent out a space on Sundays for some Christian church service. So, and I know the course I'm in, we've rented public school space in the evening. So I don't know if someone knows the principals there, but that might be an opportunity for a place that would be also a little bit more central to the people up and down Grand Street.
William has been messaging me about that public school bill, so maybe we can ask some questions about getting that space, because I guess he knows a bit about it.
Lee just
Yeah, I
asked,
looked at
is
it.
there not a restriction for renting to political groups?
I don't know for sure, but I looked at it for my board when I was doing a coup, when we were working on a coup.
Okay, well, if you can do a coup, I think we can do a little political work.
Actually, the only other thing is I just want to remind whoever talks to the co-op that the president of the co-op board is a Grand Street Dems member for using Seward Park. So maybe we could get him to exert some influence in getting us access. You know, actually, it wasn't a problem with us using it as much as letting people from outside of the co-op using it, right?
No, yes.
You cannot reserve it for meetings. People can go to the community room just to be in the space, and I'm totally unclear why we can't reserve it. And we've talked to Whaley about it, you know, over the last year or so, but it just.
Right. We both, I mean, we kind of double tag sometimes and we're still not there. So I want to move us on. Our council person is here, our council person Marte. And thank you, Chris, coming on such very last minute notice. I really heard that people are really sick of listening to me talk. But we always like to hear from you. And the two things that I asked Chris to talk about were, one, the No More 24 City Council bill. I know that's not exactly what it's called, but that's kind of how it's being billed. And also, if you could just give us a quickie on where we are with City Council redistricting at this point. Actually, let me just close up this other thing before you start. I really want to thank everybody for their involvement, for their ideas, it felt like I feel more optimistic than I have felt in a long time. So thank you all. Thanks for being here. And thank you for all those ideas. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Marion. Hi, everyone. Quickly on Intro 175, which is the No More 24 Act. As many of you know, this is to ban the 24-hour shift here in New York City that home attendants do every single night of the week. What we want to do is split it into two 12-hour shifts so people can still receive the 24-hour care, but we can make sure that someone that's taking care of that person is attentive, has time to rest, has time to live their other important parts of their lives. And so about now a month ago, we had almost a 9-hour hearing, and I really want to thank a lot of the members for testifying and Grand Street Dems for writing a resolution as well. And I was glad that over 80% of the people that testified in support of our legislation. And so now we're in this process where we are proactively meeting with every stakeholder that wants to meet with us post-hearing. So we've met with the union a number of times. We met with home care providers a number of times. We met with everyone that was literally on the panels throughout that evening, just to make sure that people are educated on what this bill is actually going to do. There's no misinformation, and that we can actually take some of the critiques that people have that we think will be productive into our new bill. One of those things is, adding an educational component that we can mail out through the agencies to both patients and home care workers about the bill and the timeline of when it's going to be implemented. So we're constantly in this phase of going back and forth, but hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to have a final amendment to our bill and then move forward, hopefully, in getting other council members to sign on. Once we have 34 members signed on, it will force a vote, and then it'll be able to pass. So that's currently what we're doing on that. On the redistricting thing, it's pretty wild. We thought that the city redistricting wasn't going to be as crazy as the federal and state level that we've been experiencing throughout this year, but it is. And so, as many of you know, there was an initial draft that came out in July that kept my district completely south of Houston, but unifying East River Co-op with the other co-ops on Grant Street and including Vladeck houses in my district and parts of East River Park, which I currently don't have. We testified for this right before the second draft saying, can you keep everything intact and then just include the part of NoHo and move our district line from Houston to Bleecker Street. When the maps came out last Friday, they didn't make any changes actually, but we were fine with where we stood. However, the commission itself voted no on the maps that they proposed to themselves. And so that created a lot of hysteria, a lot of chaos. Most people believe it's due to the Staten Island districts. Joe Borelli, who's the Republican chair of the caucus, has a lot of power in working with the mayor to get the votes to do what they want. So they got him to vote no. And so today and tomorrow, the commissioners are meeting public for the first time. So throughout the evening, as I was hopping from event to event, I had my headphones in and just hearing the dialogues that they were having specifically about our district, which almost took about an hour just because there's a lot of complex aspects to it. For example, if my district remains, but Carlina's district doesn't want certain parts of the West Village, that affects Council District 3, which is Councilmember Eric Botcher. And so at the end of today, they decided to not make any changes so far, but restart the conversation again tomorrow, just because it took so long. And so my fear is there might be a lot more changes that we might see in these final maps. And so, yeah, so stay on. If you go to the commission website, you can find a YouTube link and watch it yourselves. It was really entertaining, but I'm biased because it really affects my district. But that's pretty much it. We really don't know what the outcome is going to be, but most things, hopefully most things remain the same, and we don't have too much of the chaos that we saw on the other levels of government.
That's great. Thanks so much, Chris. I also, so going back to the discussion about the bill, I have seen so much coverage on the news and in different places about protests and attention and 1199, and you've really stirred up. This has been going on for a long time, and somehow, and not somehow, you introduced a bill, which is what you do, right? And it's really being listened to. it's created attention, and I'm very excited about that.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll be successful in this so we can start the next battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anybody have any comments, questions? No?
Tina?
Hi,
Oh.
how are you? So, you know, the bill is a difficult subject, and I'm just wondering how the concerns of the disability community are being addressed. For instance, I know that Disabled in Action is currently opposed. And I know 1199 is also opposed, probably for different reasons. So I was just wondering how that's going.
Yeah, so we met with both before and after the hearing, and we're incorporating a lot of what we thought were good suggestions from the groups. And so we're in constant negotiation, but we are also in constant dialogue with them. And so once we finalize this set of rounds of amended, we're gonna go back to the groups to show them what we came with. But one of the things was moving the effective date of the bill after the state budget, so the state can work on some of the mechanics and funding that they need to do. And so we're taking a lot of what we thought were good recommendations into this bill, so that we could kind of meet we could minimize any unintended consequences that there may be.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Laura.
What's the update on the Chinatown Working Group and the towers by the Excel Tower?
Yeah, so we
Thank you.
emailed. So over the past few months, we've been meeting back and forth with city planning. And at the end of July, at the beginning of July, we had our last meeting with city planning of what they wanted to propose, kind of like in general of what they thought was possible. What we wanted to do was go and meet with the organizers and advocates that have been working on this to know what the city is saying. And we held that meeting with the coalition. And, my staff has constantly been going to the Chinatown Working Group meetings as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue to re-engage with the city and tell them to move forward with the process. And we just emailed them 2 weeks ago. They responded that they're going to talk internally and get back to us. But I think what we wanted to achieve is not only make sure that this gets the ball rolling, but everyone knows where we're at and what we're doing. And then we have the buy-in from the community as well when we're doing this. So it's in progress. My office has been working with a few residents nearby to potentially file a lawsuit. So you'll probably be hearing more news about that fairly soon. But we don't really want to talk about the details right now about it.
Thank you. Bill. I won't pass you over this time.
That's okay. Chris, the Connor, and I was telling folks about this earlier, Connor's been doing yeoman's work trying to deal with the Department of Transportation. He's sort of gone down the rabbit hole. One of the projects they had told him was going to happen this summer, though they didn't say whether it was meteorological or astronomical summer, but summer's over, so it doesn't matter. And now they're telling him something different. And I was also telling the folks that there had been a Street Blogs report about how the DOT is adrift. So, and I'm sure because you ride a bike, I'm sure you've read it and stuff. So I guess I'm looking for what would be your suggestion of maybe is there anything we could do to try to get some kind of action out of the DOT in other ways, or any levers, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think DOT is extremely understaffed. We see it throughout our district. We have a lot of public schools that opened up in our district this summer with really dangerous situations, and they were supposed to be addressed way before school started, and it seems like they've just taken it up now. And so it has been frustrating from our side as well. But I think to bring more attention to this, we need to do something public, whether it's a rally. We did a walkthrough with DOT along Delancey Street to ask for changes of the congestion on Grand and Clinton. What we realized from that walkthrough was that there wasn't many obstacles from achieving, from having that southern part of Delancey be kind of an on-ramp onto the Williamsburg Bridge. And their consultant and their designer agree with us. There's nothing that would make it seem like they can't do it. And so I think it's just going to take a more organizing, more willpower. But they are extremely understaffed. Especially the Manhattan Borough team. I think they were missing two of the four people that kind of like oversee our borough. And they just hired to replace one about 2.5 weeks ago. And so it's been tough, but I think there are a lot of traffic issues, but I think to be prioritized, we need to do something public, and we're happy to work with Grand Street Dems in doing that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's our town hall. Harriet.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Takes me a little time. Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
As far as the outdoor dining, so many of them are just, housing the rats in the neighborhood, and they're really not being used. I don't know how much longer they have the right to keep them, but the ones that are really not being used, what can be done about that?
Take a photo 301 and send it to our office. Actually, DOT has been better at that. They just took down 2 outdoor dining sheds on Clinton Street. I think they're, after that New York Post article came out of what certain people were doing after hours in the sheds, really made them focus a lot of their manpower in taking down the ones that aren't being used or haven't been kept up properly. And so if you do see any, and especially in our district, do a 311 complaint and just send it over to my office, and we'll continue to bug DOT to take them down. But we have seen progress on the dismantle of them, and we have seen progress of them reaching out to small business owners to say, if you don't clean it up or if you don't have a proper outdoor shed, then we're going to take it down for you. And also, there is rumblings that new legislation might come out in regards to outdoor dining. It's really preliminary right now. We have another meeting, I think on Monday, with the Democratic Conference of the City Council to figure out what's the future of that program. And so it matters a lot to my district because we have the second most in the whole city. I think Eric Botcher has the most. And so we hear the complaints. So we're going to make sure that we could play a part in that conversation, even though we're not the prime sponsors of the bill.
Great, thanks. Fanny?
Hey, so you were recently a part of a hearing regarding the NYCHA water, the arsenic in the NYCHA water. Just want to know, like, what is the outcome and like what are the next steps following that?
Yeah, so what NYCHA has committed to doing is a lot more water testing, not only at Reese houses, but throughout all their campuses or all their developments. And you can actually, if you're a resident of NYCHA, request a water testing kit. So you can test it yourself. It takes around, I think, 2 weeks to get a response to it. But thankfully, we haven't seen any other issues with contaminated water. I have my own opinion of what led to that. Jacob Reese is at a site where there's huge investments for resiliency. It's right close to East River Park. They've been doing a lot of construction, a lot of digging, and they say that there was never any arsenic in the water, but NYCHA has lied before, especially in this case with Reese houses, but yeah, we'll see. All we can do is continue to press them through hearings, make sure they're accountable, and continue to have walkthroughs with or demand them to do walkthroughs and test waters whenever we get a complaint. And yeah.
Wait, sorry, Chris, can I just jump in there? Because we down here and East River, we're also by a lot of it between Port Liars. I don't know if this is, I'm jumping in front of you, Tommy, and you're having the same question, but they could test the water for us too. Atlantic and Baruch. I mean, well, Baruch is part of NYCHA, but.
Yeah, so DEP, they test the water every day of the host city, right? And so what they committed to doing in Department of Environmental Protection in the city, say they're going to really focus on the Lower East Side to make sure that, and they actually did that based off one of my questions at the hearing, that they have to put much more attention in this area surrounding Jacob Reese. So I know the attention is there and they're doing that work. I can follow up to see if they have any of the results that we can see, maybe at least for the next few months, see if we get some type of schedule reporting from them about the water levels of our district or on the east side of our district.
Great, thanks. Tommy.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Chris, you know that from following this, that what the Housing Authority has said is that there's no discernible level of arsenic in they have not given a number. In other words, these tests do not give verbal results. They give numbers. And they still have not released the number for how much arsenic is or was allegedly in the water. Secondarily, you're absolutely correct. The preliminary test in East River Park showed asbestos, lead, arsenic, cadmium, all kinds of hazardous materials in the soil. And we can only believe, because they were all done with the same landfill, that the same things are probably underneath where Reese Houses is. All of this was fine as long as it wasn't disturbed. As we all know, asbestos in your walls is not a problem until you go to do construction, and then you have to be very careful and abate it. So we have had the same problem in East River Park. They are not revealing until months and months later the amount of hazardous materials found in the soil during construction. They made me foil. Last March, they took tests. In April, I asked for the results. They said I couldn't have the results. I had to foil them. Just a few days ago, I got a 183-page report on what's in the soil. We have no outside experts, nobody to review this material. So again, we're left on our own devices to somehow make sure we're not being poisoned. And by the way, the tests you're talking about, as far as I know, because I've actually had my water tested for lead, they do not test for anything other than lead. They don't test for arsenic or other hazardous materials.
Okay. Yeah, I can look into that and see if the test, what type of test and what does it test for.
Thank you.
And
Catherine?
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
okay.
Question. I've talked to a number of people, especially around the community board, and they're very upset about a bill that the mayor seems to be pushing, which they refer to as the bill to take the community out of the zoning process. Are you familiar with this at all? And do you have an opinion, or do you know what's being done to stop it?
It's nowhere now. It hasn't. There's no one that I know of that's working on it in the council. There's no draft of it, or we would have been given notification of at Dem conference or in any other caucuses meeting. So I think a lot of it is just talk right now. He's been campaigning kind of like we should be a city of yes.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen anything come through the council yet, and it has to go through the council.
Sure.
And what we know so far from council members is that they do respect member deference and having the process play out. That was tested through a few rezonings in Harlem, and there's a few rezonings that are coming through in the Bronx and in Queens that seem to hold the line with that. So, I don't know if it's just his administration planning, for something next year or in the future, but right now there's nothing at our table.
Yeah, good, because like I said, a number of people are concerned about it.
Yeah, I know.
It seems like it's one of those Jamie Torres Springer's specialties or something.
It definitely is.
Okay,
Thank you. Chris, thank you so much. I know you came to do a couple of presentations, and thank you for all your knowledge and being able to answer all the questions and being so available to us. We appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you, guys. Good to see you all.
Thank you,
Take
Chris.
care.
Thank
Of course,
you.
feel free to hang out if you want to.
I have to go back inside,
Yeah.
but I'll see you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I noticed that Grace is in the room. So Grace, I wanted to just say hi and see if you had anything you wanted to say or ask, or just let us remember who you are.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, it's not a great video right now. I'm coming back from an event, but yeah, I'm, just have taken a little bit of the time between the primary and the general to take a little bit of a breather and kind of get things together. In the next month, we'll be doing some visibility out, especially in Chinatown, since I do have a Republican challenger for the general election in November. And not to get ahead of things, but also just started to, have conversations with other members and in the Assembly and the Senate about issues and priorities. And I just got back today from a retreat with the Black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, and Asian Caucus in Lake Placid. We got to meet with and learn about the Adirondacks. Really park, 6 million acres, and for those who don't know, it's the largest carbon sequestration sink in the entire country, and the largest national park, largest park as well, that was protected in the state constitution. So that was really interesting. But there's a lot of programming to connect people in New York City to the green spaces and parks in New York State. So that was a really interesting thing to learn. And we also had a presentation by a representative from the EPA who told us about the money that is coming from the infrastructure bill, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act to New York State. And a lot of this is really focused on environmental justice, focusing on, helping disadvantaged communities, and with focus on water infrastructure, ironically, as we talk about arsenic in NYCHA water, as well as some other technical assistance grants to work on other environmental issues. And so, that is something that would love to work with Grand Street Dems on, maybe thinking about projects where we could get some of that money deployed down the Lower East Side. And I'm thinking about that too, because there's over $400 million for water infrastructure projects, in particular, replacing lead pipes and things like that, that are for New York State, as well as some other, quite a bit of other money. So, I know we've talked about air monitors and other things around East River Park, maybe air monitors around the Williamsburg Bridge, because we know that the air pollution is really bad there. So anyway, just ideas. Please send things my way. I will try and figure out ways that we can access some of that money. If we do not use the money, we lose it. So
It's great.
Let's try and deploy some of that.
We're in.
And yeah, so that's the one thing I've got. I'll have some other things that I'm working on, but again, just really focused on the general and making sure that it's a solid victory there against the Republican opponent, Helen Q. And yeah, I would love to see you out. Please let me know if you want to join us.
Great.
Just gonna throw out there that I think the climate and sustainability group might want to have a meeting, talk about this further.
Sarah, is that so?
It might be. I'd have to look at the double check.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, we can do it. We can have a presentation or something. I could see if we could get a rep from the EPA to kind of talk through it, or someone from New York State. I'm just trying to put all the pieces together of who are the right people to talk to, so I'd be happy to facilitate something like that.
and get Grace involved because she has a lot of the information.
Fantastic.
And I'd like to, this is Mary Jo, I'd like to just add that we have purple air monitors in the neighborhood. There's 5 of them. There's 4 on the east or the west side of the river. We've got 1 on the west or the east side of the river, just to know that they're already up here. There's purple air just as a start, but it'd be great to talk to somebody about possible change of placement if that's necessary. Thanks.
Grace, can you leave your contact in the chat? Or I don't know, is Samantha still on?
Maybe I can do it. It's no problem.
That's
and
great.
Then and speaking of in-person events, so something I do every year, I partner with Vision Urbana, which is one of the very active food insecurity food pantries in the Lower East Side, and we do a turkey drive in all the NYCHA developments in the district. And would love for Grand Street Dems to participate. We'll have some more details on that, and it usually happens the weekend before Thanksgiving. So save the date.
We're in, and we were actually, Bill brought it up earlier because there were some of us that distributed turkeys with you, and it was really great to meet some of the tenant leaders and the people, so it's of course it's nice to give people turkeys, but it also is a nice way to interact with people we don't always get to interact with. So that was good. Okay, Grace, thank you for coming in tonight and for sharing with us. And Samantha left the information in the chat for Sarah and Mary Jo if you want to follow up with that. Kenny, I think you want to, I know we're a little over schedule. Kenny has something. I'm going to say one more thing about voting and we're going to close down. So just bear with it. Did you want to Blue Bus?
Charles, yeah, sure. Just we were trying to think about suggestions we could have for people to get active before the general election. And I just want to let people know that there's an organization called Vote Blue. They run 2 buses from Union Square Saturday mornings to congressional districts outside of New York City that are important. This weekend, they're going to far out in Long Island to help Robert Zimmerman. And they're also going to Pennsylvania to help out Matt Cartwright. I'm doing the Pennsylvania bus to Scranton this Saturday because they're also helping out Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman, who were big. They were on the news all the time trying to make sure Pennsylvania, all the votes were counted. So I'm there to help him. And they're $10 suggested donation, but the buses are free if you don't want to pay. They provide lunch. It's just basically going to go door knocking. They'll give you literature and a script, and you just knock on as many doors as you can, getting the word out. It's a great time, and Union Square is Saturday morning. And if you want any more information, I guess I could put my email in the chat, and I can.
That'd be great. And let us know how it goes.
I definitely will.
Sounds
and
great.
if anyone's interested, I also put that information in this week's newsletter that came out today.
Right.
Great.
That's good. Okay, so I just want to say that our next general meeting will be on November 15th because we have on October 18th, we have the fundraiser. Again, that information's in the chat. Please come, give money if you can, but come whether or not. We'd love to have people there, and it really fits with everything we've been talking about. We need to get together, see each other, have some food together, share a drink, whatever.
Marion, can I just chime in for one thing, just to get everyone's
course.
feedback?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can
yeah.
kill it tonight, but I just created the flyer based on people's feedback. I'd love to get a pulse check from the group here. If this looks like it could work, if there could be a volunteer, you could pick one, or does this not feel like the vibe? I'm sure there's other things we have to do, but this is something I quickly created. Does this look okay to the people here? Would you want to go
I
to
don't
any of these
see it.
things?
I don't see it.
You gotta scroll up. I can share my screen and show you my screen. Here we go. Let me see if I can, but I don't want to take more time here. This is, can you see this or no?
No.
No. All right, could you see?
Let me
I sent
make
everyone
you-
a file. I sent everyone a file. Did you see it?
And you want people to look at the poster and give you feedback?
I sent it at 8:39, a file to everybody.
Okay.
In the chat.
So can we do that after the meeting, or you want that now?
It's a gut check, 1 second gut check.
Julie, I don't see a link in the chat.
It's a file at 8:39, but let me see if I can share.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just not
thank
seeing
you.
anything.
Thank you, Bill. That's it, right?
What? Oh, okay. Oh, so there it is, the beginning of the Grand Street social activity.
It's called Welcome Wednesdays. It's the second Wednesday of every month. So I just
love
made
it.
that. I just made it up.
Just Zoom won't open it up, the link yet. It forces you to download it. So I had downloaded it. That's why no one could see it when you clicked on it. You have to download
If
it.
people here didn't like it, then we could kill it and move on to something else.
No,
But
I like it. I like
okay.
it.
So anybody here wants to volunteer to be the person at El Castillo with Salugis or Minutia or Grand Street Pizza? Frank, we're going up and down Grand Street. That's what we're looking at, but we'll certainly expand our horizons. I don't have anything from Chinatown here, but that'll be in the months to come.
Okay. Do you want
Any
people to
volunteers,
volunteer
Judy?
now?
Or they can, I'll put my email address down if you guys want to volunteer to, we can have more than one point person. That it's Julie at grandstreetdems.nyc. So I can't seem to get to the chat page fast enough. But I'd like for people to volunteer to commit to coming.
We can
Or being the
start
point person.
blasting this, Melissa, on our weekly to get people to sign up. I
But-
can,
but this isn't ready yet, so don't, I mean.
No, I'm not going to, and I also.
no, I'm just saying.
If we could do a day other than Wednesday, it's just like every school event is on a Wednesday.
Julie, can it be another day? Can it be Thursdays?
To be determined. I think feels like Thursdays, people have a lot of things going on Thursdays. There's a lot of community board meetings.
how
on
about
Monday and
Mondays?
Tuesday. There's a lot of community board meetings on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? So, but
I
sure,
know
we can.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know about Mondays.
You can alternate.
I wanted to use a stick with the date so that it's easy to remember. So, so yeah, like I created something like this for a different group and it was called Talk Tuesday. It lasted for years.
Is
years.
Wednesday good for everyone else?
Except Melissa, I'm sorry. Let me quickly think of something else, but I'll change the date.
Okay,
Well,
so I can volunteer for November 9th.
Okay. All right, we'll take volunteers and I'll just, actually, can you guys type in my email address? I seem, oh, here it is. Here's the chat. Here you go. If I can get volunteers for this. Okay, that's it. Sorry to keep everybody here.
Okay.
NYC. Okay. It's only
Thank
one
you.
week, okay.
Volunteer, go eat some good
Melissa,
food.
Other than Wednesday, I'm one person. Okay. That's great. All right.
Okay. November 8th is the election.
Okay.
So please, everybody come out. We're gonna do a voting card of everybody who's in, who's running on the Democratic line. We're doing some work on the ballot propositions so that we can make some decisions about what we think about those. I started that today, but I want to get more specific information. The next general meeting, because October is the fundraiser, is November 15th, and that will be executive committee elections. We welcome, invite anybody who has any interest. Please let us know, throw your name in the ring. We have as many people as we have, but frankly, I don't think it would hurt us to have a bigger executive committee. So feel welcomed, not competitive. On that note, I'm tired and I wonder how I'm guessing everybody else is. Is there anything we missed? No. Good night, all. Thank you for coming.
You.
Thank you,
Good night,
Mary.
everybody.
Thank you for all your participation. It was
Good
great.
night.
Good night,
Okay, whatever.
everybody.
Bye.
Good night. Okay, I'm closing out.